Today we're installing the tiles on the bodega, and for those of you who are unfamiliar with these tiles, you'll notice that they have a narrow end and a wide end, and they're installed in 2 layers. The first layer goes with the narrow end downhill, so the wide end uphill, and forms the trough. Then the second layer covers the ridge between the tiles and sits in the trough, and it's installed backwards to the first layer so that the wide end is downhill and the narrow end is uphill. And as long as the initial rows that are laid in are straight, then it's a very easy installation. It's simply an issue of repeating the same process and just being careful to match the lines. They start out by leaving a sufficient space to put a cap on the end of the roof line to protect the edge, the exposed wood on the edge. And what they're doing here is they're figuring out, based on the length of the slope, how many rows of tiles they will need to lay to get a sufficient overlap. Then they divide the roof into sections and run string lines from the top down to the bottom of the slope. You can see the weighted strings that are dangling over the edge in the foreground. Then they have the roof divided up into quadrants. They have the correct number of tiles approximately stacked and ready to go on, and they have the first 2 rows in place. Antonio's talking over a problem that came up. There's a small section of roof that hangs over the neighbor's yard, and the neighbor came by this morning and announced that he didn't want one single drop of water to come off that roof into his yard. So the guys designed a concept to keep the water from flowing over the edge and instead direct it down into our side of the wall. So they built a curb with some rebar reinforcement on top of the roof and channeled it off in the direction we wanted it to go with a piece of PVC pipe. Now the guys can finish up the second side of the roof. From this angle, over on this side, it's a lot easier to see how they simplify the process of keeping the rows perfectly straight by using their string lines that they just move each time they finish a row. And the last thing that goes in is the roof peak. This is the point where edges of the tiles from both sides of the roof meet, and obviously there's a seam there, an opening. So that's filled with concrete, which also holds those tiles in place. And a final row of tiles is cemented to the peak, and the exposed concrete is painted red, both to waterproof it and to blend it in and give it a clean look.